2 years ago, the U.S. Department of Energy launched a thing called the Real World Design Challenge, which is a contest aimed at creating excitement in our nation's high schools. It takes the opportunity to inspire high school students to take what they've learned in high school and apply it to everyday issues faced by industry with the goal of changing energy consumption. Thanks to then Governor Kathleen Sebelius, Kansas signed up early and was aided by private industry for support. One of those companies was Cessna, and one of the key figures at Cessna is Ray Gerardo. I'd like to invite Ray to come up and introduce our guests. So if you would, Ray, please come up and tell us a little bit about why we have some folks from Baldwin City High School here.
Thank you. 2 years ago, through the efforts of Jack Pelton, Cessna became involved in the Real World Design Challenge. This was a program that instilled interest in engineering and science at the high school level. Little did we realize when we started that how rewarding it really is to watch the efforts of the talented students, not just within Kansas, but across the country. We had, for the last 2 years, worked heavily with sponsors with the Real World Challenge, and Cessna's role was one in which we worked in developing both a state question or challenge and the national challenge. The Real World Design Challenge is not an easy task. It's quite complicated, and the students have to use tools such as Pro-E and Flow-EFD, along with airfoil databases and other software tools to solve a very complex problem. They also have to learn teamwork, organization, scheduling, and communication, real and face-to-face. The Real World Design Challenge has two parts. As I've mentioned, they have a state challenge and they have a national challenge. This year, the state challenge required the students to design a tail cone and empennage for a medium-sized business jet flying at 37,000 feet and 400 knots. They had to define the configuration, the sizing. They had to determine airfoils. They had to balance the aerodynamic forces, all while minimizing drag and weight. The additional complication of a wing into the problem was added for the national question. This year, 400 teams across the country competed. This was within 20 states. Then each state champion had to work the national question and then traveled to Washington, D.C. to compete against each other. On a Saturday morning last March, the 20 teams in the National 4-H headquarters had to present and defend their design against a panel of judges that comprised of individuals from industry, from the FAA, NASA, the military, and other scientific and educational organizations. The students' presentation score, along with their technical results, and the design notebook which they were required to submit, determined the top 3 teams out of the 20 states that competed. These top 3 teams then had a change in venue. They had to compete again Saturday night, this time in the IMAX Theater in the National Air and Space Museum. It's quite a big show for those, really an impressive performance. The 3 teams were one from Kansas, Hawaii, and Minnesota. And today I'm thrilled to announce that the national champion of the Real World Design Challenge was the team from Kansas. It's Baldwin High School out of Baldwin City, Kansas. Before I introduce them individually, I'd first like to introduce some other very important individuals in the Real World Design Challenge. First is Sid Cooley. Sid is with the Education Program Consultants, Standards and Assessment Service with the Kansas State Department of Education. He was also the Real World State Coordinator for the state of Kansas. Next is R.J. Dake, who is also an Education Program Consultant in the Standards and Assessment Service with the Kansas State Department of Education. Going on, I'd like to introduce Pam Davis, who is the Baldwin High School team coach. Sandy Barnes, who is the team mentor. And now on to the high school team members themselves, starting with Brandon Baltzell. Carson Barnes. Carrie Dietz, Shelby Gregory, James Halpin, Mason Johnson, and Austin Krause. Also with the team is a number of family and friends, and as commented earlier by R.J. Dake, they couldn't be successful without the support of their family, their coaches, and their peers at school. I think I had an opportunity to witness their presentation firsthand, and it's quite impressive. They did a tremendous job. So I'd like to say thank you, and once more, congratulations to Baldwin High School.